Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat to Win show where sports nutrition meets peak performance. Get ready for expert insights, real stories, and tips to help you win with every meal. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Eat to Win podcast show. I'm your host, Ronnie Harper, and we're here to talk about all things related to sports nutrition. Whether you're an athlete or just passionate about sports nutrition, this is the place to be. Today, we're thrilled to have an amazing guest with us. Join us with Nathaniel Snipes. Nathaniel is a registered dietitian. He's going to be breaking down misconceptions about building muscle, high school athletes, and sharing lessons from his own experiences. So Nathaniel, a little bit of background on Nathaniel. He's from Northwest Arkansas. He received his bachelor's degree from nutrition from College of the Ozarks and completed his dietetic internship with Keith and Associates. He earned his master's degree from University of Central Arkansas. In his free time, Nathaniel enjoys working on fantasy football, hanging out with his wife and their dogs. Nathaniel, welcome to the Eat to Win podcast show.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for having me. Happy to be
Absolutely. Here. Yes. We've been friends for quite some time and been trying to get you on our podcast show.
Yes.
And so let's break the ice a little bit. Nathaniel, tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to start with, what's your favorite meal before a big game?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, I've tried a lot of different pregame meals. I've heard of a lot of different things. But for me personally, a good old-fashioned peanut butter and jelly sandwich is just really what hits the spot for me. So that's
Dude,
it.
What kind of peanut butter you like?
Okay, so I'm pretty simple. I just get Sam's Club peanut butter. It's pretty good. That's what I go for. But jelly-wise, I will say I do like a specific jelly. I go plum jelly.
I mean, yeah, I can eat a PB&J every day. Sometimes I get in a row to where that's all I eat, and then I go like, hey, I'm tired of them. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. So, how did pregame meals and food in general impact your profession?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that and started off with that question because when I went to high school, we were kind of reliant on our parent-teacher organization, which I find that a lot of high schools are reliant on the parent-teacher organizations to supply foods. And so a lot of times, and it's tough because, these high schools are just wanting to get some food in these high schoolers' bodies before they go work out. Oftentimes we had Chick-fil-A, we had Popeyes, a lot heavier, greasier stuff is what I remember eating. Probably we had some Subway sandwiches I remember were good, but we also did hamburgers, we did spaghetti. So just a mixture of just really everything. So nothing ever stayed the same. And that's kind of when I started looking into nutrition. Actually, was in high school as an athlete myself because I would eat these foods. I remember one time I had like a plate of noodles that was a little bit on the greasier side with some spaghetti or some meatballs, a little bit on the greasier side. And I remember just feeling like I was slow, like I felt sluggish, and I'd only eaten it like an hour and a half, 2 hours before. And so I remember thinking like, I feel drained, like I have nothing. And so that's when I actually started looking into nutrition and like how it affects our bodies was when I was a senior in high school, and I got super interested in it and went to college to study nutrition, and then ultimately went on to sports nutrition when I found that this was a field.
Yeah. The more I talk to sports dietitians, the more I hear stories like that, just personal examples of foods they've eaten and their impact specifically when they were trying to exercise. And it's amazing how the stories are very similar as to how their interests got started in that. So tell us a little bit here about a misconception people have about building muscle. Let's dial into the high school athlete and specifically around building muscle. What's the number one misconception that people have about that?
Yeah. So for me, a misconception that I've noticed, but also that a misconception I had about building muscle was our diet models. So when I was in high school, I followed a lot of bodybuilders, if you'd say, on social media and YouTube, and they always posted the full day of eatings. And I was like, wow, these guys are ripped. They're huge. They must be incredible athletes. And so I started getting interested into what they were eating, and they're eating very clean. So it's a good start off for athletes. And that's what I see is it's a good starting point, but we need to go a little bit further. So they're eating a lot of chicken, rice, broccoli, and then their snacks are a lot of lower calorie items like popcorn, Jell-O, and rice cakes. But the reason why they're doing that is they're training their body to be stage ready and to look good at all times. Whereas athletes, they're training more to be in a movement of just go, go, go and playing 4 quarters of football, or they're playing basketball, or they're wrestling. And that diet model doesn't really meet the needs of the body when they're putting out that much energy. So that's what I've noticed as a big misconception is, and they're easy to follow too. Like these guys, you click on their accounts, they're ripped, they're shredded, they look good year round. But then, we see their diets. And so a lot of high school athletes want to mimic their diets, and then it does not fuel them to perform and to have practice 5 days a week, and then to go play a game on Fridays or Thursdays or whatever. They're not ready. Their bodies are underfueled. So underfueling is probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I see.
Yeah. I know I found that so many times, that exact same thing, the misconception. I had a linebacker come into my office one time and said, "So Dr. Harper, how do I get a six pack?" And I went like, "Don't worry about a six pack. You're playing high school football. Like
Right.
We can't go there right now." And so his goal was to have a physique look, and it takes a lot to reverse that mindset, So let's keep moving along here. Let's change course a little bit. If you could change one thing about sports nutrition field, when an athlete is trying to approach that muscle building phase, which is a lot of young adolescent males in high school, what would it be? One thing that you would love to see the sports nutrition field approach on?
For me, one thing that I'd like to see changed is really just how they sleep. So what we see among a lot of athletes, and what I've noticed, is they're super busy. And I'm sure you're familiar with this as well. They have classes, then they have practice after school, or maybe they have practice before school. And then oftentimes some of them are going off-site to train with a trainer on the side, or they're going to the gym in the afternoons. Maybe they go to church. Maybe they have other events that they want to do. They're hanging out with their friends. There is so much just crammed into a high school athlete's day. And then what often gets neglected is their sleep. So I know this is not really nutrition related, but it's something that I do find I'm passionate about, is sleep. So to me, it is one of you could almost classify it as a supplement. Sleep is like a supplement that people often disregard or say they don't need. But when we realize when we're sleepy, we become more irritable. We have like a slower reaction time. And then just overall, we don't heal properly. So after working out, when we go to sleep, our muscles are regenerating while we're sleeping. And we don't do that when we're only getting 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours sleep at night. So I think high school athletes really need to keen in on their sleep. And when I worked with some Bentonville athletes, that's what I always told them is, hey, you got to work on your sleep. Like, what time are you going to bed? What time are you getting up? They're like, oh, I'm going to bed at midnight. I'm getting up at 6 a.m. for practice. I'm like, guys, you're putting your phone down at midnight. You're not going to sleep at midnight. Right. So really, they need to be focusing on their sleep habits and getting those in check.
And that is, I call it the secret weapon, if you could dial in and figure that out. And those athletes that are really dialed in and serious about their performance gains, that message comes across clear, and they begin to see evidence of that. I think pretty quick. It doesn't take long before you see the effects that sleep can have just on energy and focus by itself, less more the advancements with performance. So let's talk about 10 years from now. What do you see in your crystal ball in the sports nutrition field? Specifically, we're talking about the high school male, young adolescent male trying to gain lean muscle mass. What's the future hold? Where are we headed in this space?
Well, I think the future is really bright for high school athletics. And what we see is like a trickle-down effect. So what takes place in college ultimately trickles down into high school. When I was in high school, I didn't know strength and conditioning coaches were a thing, but now I see them more and more in high schools. I think that's great. The strength and conditioning coaches are working through these athletes through the different planes of motion that are required for them to exercise for their sport. They're working through the different isometrics, concentrics, eccentrics of working out, which I do have a passion for, as well as just learning about strength and conditioning tactics. So then I could see the next step just being nutrition. So we're already seeing the integration of strength and conditioning coaches. So the next step in my mind is that integration of nutrition. So, they're training these athletes not just to lift heavy weights. They're training them to move the weights in a way that mimics to their field or to what they do on the field or on the court. And so I could see, like I said, the next portion being nutrition. So then a nutritionist may come in and work with the athletes and say, this is how you need to fuel for your sport. So we see different fueling tactics for wrestling, for running, for football. So I think that's really going to be the next step that trickles down into high school. You'll see it probably start to integrate into the bigger high schools first, and then hopefully we can trickle down to some of the smaller schools as well.
Yeah, if everybody, anybody listening to this that is of our age or have some few years on them, they look back just 10 years ago, 15, even 20 years ago, and strength and conditioning is like it's come so far. Still got a lot of ways to go, but yes, nutrition is in that same space. I think you're spot on with that. So let's talk about the professional that the sports dietitian that says, hey, I love to work with adolescents, love the high school setting. You spent some time in that setting in your career and rubbed shoulders with a lot of high school athletes. What advice do you have in working with athletes at that age?
Yeah. So to clarify, you say working with athletes or someone that wants to work with athletes?
Yeah, we're talking to the sports dietitian that wants to work with high school athletes. What's your words of wisdom when it comes to working with that age population? A lot of people say, I want to go work with pro athletes. And you go like, okay, good luck, getting in that space and finding your path there. But there are plenty of high school athletes that need help in sports nutrition. Give us your words of wisdom in working with.
Yeah. For me, Ronnie, you hit the nail right on the head. A lot of people want to go work with the professional athletes or the college athletes. For me, I always found that it would be great to work with the high school athletes because I was once a high school athlete that didn't have this information or knowledge, but I would have loved to have access to it. So for me, I think a lot of them are hungry. They really not actually hungry, but they want knowledge. They really want to learn about nutrition. That's how I was. That's how a lot of, younger athletes that I've worked with, they want to learn. So they want to learn. They're willing to put in the time and the effort. A lot of them, they work out on the sides. They see trainers on the sides. So they're willing to put in the effort to get to that next level. So I think that is probably one of the best parts about working with them. And then also your schedule is going to be a lot better working with high school athletes. You're not constantly traveling or on the road with the college or the professional athletes, but honestly, for me, it's the hunger and the drive and the passion for the high school athletes that they want to make it to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. They have their own culture, their own mindset, their own maturity level. And once you sort of dial in and get sort of accustomed to the way that they operate, it can be an incredibly rewarding experience because, as you said, there are a lot that are asking. And it is the wild, wild west out there trying to navigate what is legit, what is not. That's true for the adults. We're not only talking about how does an athlete in high school get the correct information, and they depend on the adults that circle their wagon and support them. And so they have a lot of questions. So I think you're absolutely right about that. Liquid Fuel is a new sports and hydration product formulated by a sports dietitian to give athletes the edge to train and compete longer. It contains a low glycemic carbohydrate, platinose, designed to keep blood sugar levels more stable to provide energy for 3 to 4 hours without the blood sugar crash seen in other leading sports nutrition drinks. Its unique 4-part electrolyte formula includes 50% of your daily magnesium need to optimize muscle function. Liquid Fuel is naturally sweetened along with no artificial ingredients or colors. Currently being used by high school, collegiate, and professional teams, Liquid Fuel allows you to live the life with confidence knowing you're properly fueling your body. Visit drinkliquidfuel.com and use the code MSD10 in order to get 10% off of your order. So let's jump now to supplements, a lot of people's favorite topic. An athlete quite often will say, Dr. Harper, help me gain more lean muscle. What should I take? What supplement? And so how do you answer that question? Where do you go with the role of supplements in lean muscle growth?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's often the first question that athletes come to you with is, hey, what supplements can I take? They don't say, hey, can you look at my diet and see how my diet looks? Or can you look at my sleep pattern, see how my sleep pattern looks? Can you look at my training program, see how it looks? They obviously want to go straight to the supplement. They find these online, they see the links to them, they click them, they'll send them to me and they'll say, hey, what about this one? So ultimately I say, hey, let's get everything else in order first, and then we can look at supplements.
So you're not anti-supplement.
No, I'm not anti-supplement. I would much rather let's get the big blocks in first, our cornerstone pieces, and then we can build up to the supplements later, almost like building a little pyramid. But I definitely don't want to start with supplements first. I'd much rather, that's in the name, supplement. It is to supplement what we're missing in our diet or what we're missing in our life. It's definitely not that piece that you want to just try to cram in there. It's like trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it took me a while. I used to be so anti supplement only because I didn't understand its role, and I would stiff arm it, and then I would turn them away. And now I embrace that and allow it to be the discussion point to keep the conversation going. So, emerging trends in muscle building for high school athletes. What are you most excited about as far as resources that are out there in order to accelerate this process or make sure that it's done the right way?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about sleep. There is a lot of new technology coming out there for sleep. I think Groove is really taking the lead on this, but even your Apple Watches or our Google Watches that we wear, a lot of these do track sleep, and they give you some pretty good data if you sleep with these on. So sleep is obviously near and dear to my heart, as I've kind of already mentioned. I do track my sleep. I like to look at my sleep and compare how I feel on days that I don't get enough sleep. And you can really tell a difference on those days that you are kind of lacking in sleep. But also, I like to look into vitamin D. So I've done some research on vitamin D. We get it from the sun, we synthesize it from the sun. So a lot of times we think we're good on vitamin D, but really when you start to look into it, there's a lot of factors that kind of affect how our vitamin D absorption is and how much vitamin D we have. So you start looking at like skin tone, time of the year. So if it's like winter, cloud coverage, are you competing in an indoor sport like basketball, swimming, or wrestling? And then vitamin D just has a lot to do with bone health, but also muscle and joint health as well, which I think are super important. And then oftentimes what we see is a lack of vitamin D can lead to an increased risk of fractures, some of those stress fractures. And we can see that some athletes have fractures, and it seems like they have a long history of fractures and they can't really overcome that history. And I'm often interested in, I wonder what their vitamin D status is like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So me and you, we have worked together at My Sports Dietitian over the years and enjoyed our relationship together. You got a chance to be an author of a program called the Bulk Up Program. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the Bulk Up Program, I've been so grateful to help work on this program. We've seen it grow from just being a concept in our minds, Ronnie. I think working with some other dietitians, just kind of wondering where we could go with this or where we could take it. We see it as filling a need. So we know there's a need. There's high school athletes out here that are wanting to fuel their bodies correctly. They're also wanting to put on lean muscle mass. And they just kind of don't know where to go. And like you said, it's a sea of information out there, and sorting through it all can be so difficult. So that is really the motive and the heart behind the Bulk Up program is, hey, let's put together one package, one place, one location that a high school athlete can go to, and they can find all the information they would ever need, hopefully, to gain lean muscle mass. So that's really it. It's integrated into the Eat to Win app. And so they can sign up for this program almost like as if you're purchasing a training program. It's pretty similar to that. And then you can connect with a sports RD that you prefer and ask questions with them. You can earn some rewards in the system as well as you're progressing through the ranks. So it's just been a great system, and I'd love to see where it goes, but I've also enjoyed seeing where it's at now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a tool that athletes can use to connect with a professional like yourself and others, and it guides them through the process to do it the right way. And once the foundation is set, and that's what the Bulk Up program helps you to do, it helps you to establish a foundation. And then after that, the results are pretty impressive. So, more on the Bulk Up program can be found at mysportsd.com. All right, Nathaniel, we're headed down the stretch here. We're ready for a rapid round fire. You ready for this?
Okay. All right. Let's do
All right,
it.
here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right. You a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
I guess that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely more of a morning person. I don't like staying up late. I usually go to bed at a certain time each night, and if I miss my time, I I may get a little cranky. So,
I got you. Favorite post-workout snack?
great question. I personally like to do a protein shake and then a
Mm.
Rice Krispie treat. So, like a little small Rice Krispie treat with a protein shake, that really
All
hits the
right.
spot for me.
It's a spot. Best advice you've ever received about muscle building? Best advice.
Oh man, meal timing, easily meal timing for me. So we follow the 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, but hey, how are we integrating meals in there? Oftentimes it's eating every 2 to 3 hours. In my opinion, that was the greatest advice I received. And when I started following that model, I think I saw some better results for myself as well. Having a snack between breakfast, lunch, snack between lunch and dinner, and then maybe one last snack after dinner.
Like it. All right, last one on the rapid fire. Rapid fire. One thing people don't know about you. Let us in on a secret.
Ooh, I know all the U.S. presidents in order. I can
Go
tell
ahead,
you
man.
from start to finish. Yeah.
All right. That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, right? Yeah, it's a little
I
fun
guess.
fact. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So as we wrap this up, so let's look in the crystal ball once again. Where you see yourself at? What's your future in sports nutrition, Nathaniel?
I hope to be working in the private practice setting of some sort, working on the side. Also with high school athletes, I said I enjoy working with them because they're motivated to learn. They're motivated to grow. So I really want to be working with high school athletes in a private practice setting. Now, I've often talked about opening up a gym. I don't know if that's still in the cards or not. And possibly partnering with like a strength and conditioning coach in the area. I think that'd be super cool. If that happens, I don't know, but we'll see. But I definitely be working in the private practice setting.
I could see you in that role in 5 years from now. You just got the personality and the energy that I think is really attractive to the target audience, the niche that you're really trying to specialize in, and that is a young adolescent male trying to gain lean muscle mass. So let's wrap this up. Got a book or a resource you want to recommend to the audience? Something your go-to, your favorite?
Yeah, I'm typically more of a podcast guy, a little bit heavier, but I like Andrew Huberman's podcast. It's a little bit heavier to digest, and sometimes I have to go back and re-listen to a podcast because I don't comprehend all of it. But he's a good listen. Gatorade Sports Science is a great location that you can just find about research just about anything. They're also great. And then also on Instagram, you can follow any of the Division I universities, sports nutrition programs. So they're a great follow for little snack ideas or meals or how to meal prep or shopping on a budget. They're great follows.
All right. Excellent. So last question here, Nathaniel. So you're going to speak to the high school athlete, the young adolescent male, and you get to summarize in one short statement your best piece of advice for them when it comes to gaining lean muscle.
Yeah. Putting it all together. So I'll kind of dive in a little bit more into that. But it's not just nutrition. It's not just your training program. It's not just your sleep. It's not just your supplements. It's not just, taking, time out of your day to work out more or to really work through a different training program. It's not just one thing. It's almost like a report card. I kind of view it like that you have to get all these different A's and all these different classes to really see that final grade come out. So you can't be getting a C in sleep and then, an F in nutrition, but your training is an A, and your supplements are an A, but at the end, your average grade is going to be like a C. So you really got to hit your marks in all those different assignments, if you will, to get an A in the class.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good analogy. Excellent. All right, so that's a wrap up. Nathaniel, tell us how they can get in touch with you. Where can they find more about you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, so probably the best way to keep in touch with me or to reach out to me in any facet is to go to the Eat to Win website, and I'm on there as at mysportsrd at Nathaniel. And
that'd
then
be mysportsd.com. Yeah, mysportsd.com/Nathaniel. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I got it memorized too, so you can find out more about Nathaniel and get in touch with him, and he'll be glad to share his knowledge and his wisdom with you about how to gain lean muscle mass and as a young adolescent male. So, hey, that's it for today's episode of the Eat to Win podcast show. This is Ronnie Harper. Big thanks to Nathaniel for joining us, sharing his expertise. If you found today's insights valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, share with your community. Do us a big favor. Go in and rate and review us as well. We'd love to hear your feedback. And until next time, keep on winning. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Ronnie.
All right.
Thanks for joining us on the Eat to Win show. Remember, every meal is a step toward victory. Until next time, stay strong and keep winning.